Yo, I am gonna be deplatformed. I'm kind of excited about it. So, basically, when you get deplatformed by something or somebody, they get offended at something that you said because it's quote-unquote hate speech or whatever you want to call it, and they remove accessibility to their platform because of it. And so I am getting booted off of Facebook for 24 hours because I thought it was morally unjust for two gay men to adopt a child. So I said something, not necessarily even about the morality of it, but the mental health implications of it, and how susceptible, how much more susceptible that homosexuals and people subscribing to that sort of ideology are to things like suicide, and how I called people like that unstable because statistically they are. Now that doesn't mean every gay person is going to go out and kill themselves. That doesn't mean every gay person is one way, shape, or form. But I do believe it is definitely morally wrong, and I have an obligation to say it is. What I dislike is that Facebook will let a double narrative exist where BLM will say the same kind of garbage about people like me, or just really any of the progressive leftists will say anything about me. Oh, you're evil, you're hateful, all this stuff, you bigot. For me, speaking actually what I genuinely believe, and speaking from an opinion that I believe to be truthful. And so, and I'm fine, say what you want about me or whatever. Like, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I don't even know half these people. But here's the deal. If you deplatform me and don't deplatform those other people that are actually inciting riots, that are actually physically typing stuff out and going and burning things down, actually talking about murdering people, go and murder babies at abortion clinics, and pretend like, oh, everything's hunky-dory, then you go and you don't deplatform them, but you deplatform me, who thinks it's who thinks it's wrong for two gay guys to adopt a kid. Then you're holding to a double standard. You've formed your own narrative. You've made your bed. Now you're gonna have to lie in it, and it's gonna be a nasty bed too, because the reason why this is so important and why I say free speech matters and all this stuff whenever I'm talking about it, deplatforming, is not because Facebook is out of their bounds to be able to do this, but rather Facebook is a platform in which the culture engages, and culture, like I said, drives politics. And I'm stealing that from Matt Walsh, but it is such a great quote. And since it drives politics, and since it drives this policy making and breaking, then what's wild is that what we are going to be subject to and see it run across our eyes. This is against our community standards. This is against our community standards. And how much of Facebook community standards are going to bleed into our own lives and our own mentality and stuff like that. Well, Facebook wouldn't have those community standards if the culture was so staunchly against it. And it's interesting because I don't think the culture's necessarily against having those kind of community standards. So anyways, it's just really interesting to look into and check out. And, you know, if we continue to engage in our current most important issues, then it just seems like Facebook is going to boot one side of the aisle and keep the other one. So just be ready for it. Be ready for it if you're a conservative. Be ready for it, number one, if you're a Christian. And be ready for it if you care at all about truth and justice, real justice. And yeah, so it just craziness from Facebook. And I'm not necessarily one of the people that is that's going to go and say, well, screw Facebook, I want to delete it. But I am one of the people that is going to say, this is a moral issue, and this is on us as a culture, and it's time for Christians to unite, step up, and take this down together, because we stand for truth and justice. But not just Christians, people in general should stand for these things. I think many people do. The only difference is they just don't know why. So, alright, I will talk to you later. Peace.